eo marang moula mayap aungil madangali arngula bela
malungil silsil mora rogul adaguk mo sab edelt magar el altutaw elguk mo sel program rigidil ngi amlisi iralam tedel el mo madangel waseng ra ngaringira luada makablementir gid ma diregel bos edel top daul de suet se gidil tegol ngi ado sauder ngi mlkoringil waseng kotol klo lamaltetra al sela ami mokal kablementir ngara eungel el sil se ngaringa to gubets lokyak el ngartiang boto dagam kadmo pengel telgibe merko morai kel tongora ais el gukpodo sela belwadma annex el kestergid meng kadmo mo makmo shoga ngil to koram rigel mo ganga adangot el blum kiki mo merko to koram rigel sungung gukmo degal suil mo merenge kom moden walme o germa ma. This morning we're very fortunate to have a guest, and he's from Ponape. I don't know whether he holds a title of Nanmargi or Nanaken in Ponape, but his name is Willie Costa. And Willie is a regular visitor to Palau in the years back. For many years, he's involved in, I guess, environment movement and in Ponape, and he's one of these people who are working hard to preserve and conserve our environment, and he's among people like Noai Ong and others in Palau who are active in this area. So he's here, and there's a conference going on. So I'm going to request him to introduce himself and then talk about what they're talking about, and also his line of work, which I understand also involve Palau. But I just kind of want to let you know that he ran for the Senate in Ponape in the last election. I think that was this year, right? This year or last year? This year. And he ended up as number 2 after Peter Christian, but over the former president of Ponape. So it's very unusual because he's a young fellow, and he's also a Xavier graduate, but in the 80s, so he tells me. So he is very young, So Willie, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and your work.
Thank you very much, Moses, for having me to your station. Kasilelia to the people of Palau, and my ample respects to your traditional leaders here. I am not a traditional leader myself, but thank you for having me. I'm currently with the Micronesia Conservation Trust, which is a non-government organization that works in Palau, FSM, Marshall Islands, Guam, and CNMI. And basically our work is to support local organizations like the Palau Conservation Society, Appeal Society, Big Creek, and others who are doing the work on the ground. Our job is to bring in funding from outside, and then we have grants that come to organizations in Palau, FSM, Marshalls, Guam, and CNMI. So that's what we do. And then we support that with capacity building, and that's the main reason we're here this week.
So this is this is an old society. How long this trust? How long it's been in existence?
So we were established in 2002. So wow. It's 21 years in the works here.
And it's an NGO.
Yes, it's a non-government organization.
In all this jurisdiction, or just?
No, it's registered in FSM, but we provide grants to organizations all over the Micronesia.
And it was initially funded by what? Government grant or private grant?
No, we started with a $50,000 grant from a private donor, and we started giving very small grants, and we built ourselves and built our track record. So now we're receiving funding from all over the world, including U.S. private foundations, U.S. government, the Global Environment Facility, the Green Climate Fund, European Union, and all of those donor agencies.
And you are the director?
Yes, I'm the director of the organization.
So do you have like subsidiary here in Palau or other jurisdiction, or just still direct with the local organizations?
Yeah, so we decided that it will be better to provide the funding support to the local organizations and not come and try and do the work ourselves, because we don't think that Pohnpeians would be successful at dealing with communities in Palau. So it's better for us to give the funding to the Palau Conservation Society, and they do the work here.
So in terms of amount, what's like your annual budget,
So it varies because we don't have, our donors are different every year. But this year our budget was $4.6 million.
Wow.
So
But is there some kind of a trust fund?
we do have an endowment, that's
yeah.
associated with the Micronesia Challenge
Yes.
initiative. So when the leaders of Micronesia declared the Micronesia Challenge initiative in 2006, they decided to have MCT serve as the financing mechanism because we were already there as a granting organization. And so they picked us to be the organization that holds the endowment fund for the Micronesia Challenge.
And how much is that?
So currently the endowment is at 24 million.
Wow. That means if you're broke or something, you don't have money, you can dip into it.
Yeah, so the way that it works is the countries actually earn back what they put in. So Palau has put in about $10 million, and so every year Palau receives the earnings from the endowment.
Good idea.
So we don't dip into the corpus of the funds or the capital. We disperse up to 5% of the. Yeah. So it's a long-term investment.
So tell us what kind of programs are you funding in Palau? Actual program.
Yeah. So from the endowment, that funding comes to the PAN, your Palau Protected Area Network Fund, and then the PAN fund gives that out to the states and the organizations that are doing them. But we also provide funding to the Palau International Coral Reef Center to support them with some of the research work. We've given funding to the Palau Conservation Society to do work with the communities. Ebil Society up in the north with Anne,
Yes.
with their work with the young people in Palau, or students and the elder ladies who have been doing the watershed work up there. So there are many examples.
Yeah. Well, I tell you this, the Palau organizations are active. They're next to the government in terms of size and operation.
Yes.
And actually, and they're dealing with the communities here. So, we're very happy with them.
Yes.
So, in this conference you're attending today, what is it all about?
Yeah, so we have a peer learning network called the Micronesians in Island Conservation. And basically, it was started in 2002, also around the same time that MCT was being established. And it was started by a number of conservation leaders across Micronesia. The founding members included Noah Ideong, Adalbert Elitui, Kati Kasulei, and many of the conservation leaders today that like Minister Stephen Victor, Charlene Mersai, they were all part of the Micronesians in Island Conservation Peer Learning Network. Basically, it helps young professionals who are in the field of conservation environment to through a professional development work. So we have a new cohort right now, and for 2 years we'll be working with these new young conservation leaders in developing their professional goals and their organizational goals. And then we hope that by the end of the 2 years, they will start to take over some of this work that we're doing.
Wow. Really, the last time, I think first time I saw you, you were, you had black hair and then, look healthy and young and strong. But now you still look healthy and I saw you exercise, but you're beginning to have white hair.
Yeah.
And you just told me you're 53. So you are 20 years younger than me. And when you graduate in Xavier, I graduated in 69, so I was way ahead of you. So in this environmental movement, I call it, I don't know whether you know the history here. It's actually the modern conservation movement or environmental movement started in the early 70s. And it was our High Chief Ibadul who was asked to be released from military to come to assume his title because his uncle died. So he was in his 20s. And then we start a movement with it's called Save Palau organization. There was a plan to build tanks, oil tanks, transfer tanks from Kayangal all the way to Aimali and the reef by the Shah of Iran, who was king of Iran, before the Muslims take over. And then they worked with a Japanese company called Niso EY to bring oil from Iran to store in Palau and transfer to Japan. Because, there was a Middle East war in 1973 between Israel and the Arabs, and then the oil, they stopped the oil, so the price went high. So that was so the young chief, has pushy hair like this. We organized a group to fight against that. And that was the first to save the reef and to save the environment in Palau. It was a big fight because our local government then, the legislature, was promoting that. So it was a big fight. We even went to United Nations and U.S. Congress to lobby against it because we were under trust territory then. So that's how it started, And so since then it has evolved into different organizations, and we're very, kind of happy with that because at least, the Palau, then the Conservation Society came about, and then that whole kind of ethics, in terms of environment conservation, really took roots. So I don't know whether High Chief Abdul won an award, international award in the 70s from Europe, for conservation movement. So it was. So this time I noticed, like you say you're developing young ones to take over the work.
Yes. Yeah, that's the core.
And then you've had this job for how long?
Well, I've been with the Micronesia Conservation Trust since its inception, helping to launch it. But as a director, I've been director since 2006. So what's that? 17 years? 17?
Wow. No wonder you're getting gray,
Yeah.
So anyway, this, as the worldwide climate change is just going berserk.
Yes.
You see in U.S., you see here, Mawar in Guam, and then things are really different nowadays in terms of environment.
Yes.
Like in Palau, the tide, the high tide, the low tide, even the species of fish you find in a certain area, certain time of the year, it's no longer true. So the tide, like in Koror, some lower part, the tide it keep on going higher and higher. So in terms of what's happening now, definitely from climate change, what are your line of work? What are the actions you take to kind of combat or these new challenges?
Yeah. So again, the Micronesia Conservation Trust, what we are good at is bringing in the funding, but these local organizations that are doing the work on the ground to help communities adapt to the changes caused by climate change, sea level rise, and all of that. So we're very fortunate that last week the Green Climate Fund approved a grant of close to $9 million to support Palau, FSM, and Marshalls with their community-based adaptation work. So we're hoping that by later this year or early next year, these projects will begin across Micronesia for communities to ecosystem-based adaptation work.
It comes through you, through the trust.
Yeah, we're an accredited entity to the Green Climate Fund. So for organization to receive funding from the Green Climate Fund, they have to go through an accreditation process. And in the Pacific, we have the SPC, SPREP, and then some smaller organizations like MCT that have been accredited. So the Green Climate Fund does not give funding directly to. It has to go through an accredited.
You're like a conduit, or
yeah.
Okay, and so in terms of programs, is the local programs that come, the local organizations that come up with the program and request fund from you direct from this kind of new fund
Yes.
you're talking about?
Yeah.
And then, so can you mention what are the organizations in Palau that get funding from you or through you?
Yeah. So as I said earlier, the PAN Fund.
PAN Fund. Oh, okay.
The Palau Conservation Society, Palau International Coral Reef Center, the ABIL Society. Some of the states have, in fact, received some funding from us as well. So some of your states have also applied for funding.
Okay, well, great. That's interesting to know. So this meeting, this conference you have is you're just going through your programs and.
Yeah. So basically, these we've identified a number of young individuals across Micronesia who are showing some leadership potential in the conservation field. So what we're doing is we're helping them. With training on leadership and how they can manage their programs better, how they can run organizations better. And so we have some of our people who are, for example, our meeting here in Palau, we've invited some of the people who were part of MIC before to come and talk to them and tell them how they've gone through their own programs over the years and how MIC has helped them and things like that. So,
wow, wow, nice to hear that. Our former president was champion of the environment, yes. And we're very in the oceans, and we're very happy and proud for that. And then he's retired now, but I think he's still kind of active. Yeah. So we hope that your program can continue, and it looks like you're on a solid ground. Yeah, it's if you have funding, I guess that's So I never thought of you as a money maker, providing money. But now it's good to know that. So before we close, we have our next guest. So I always thought of you as an environmentalist, or that's why I was surprised when I saw the result of the election, that you came in like number 2 in the Senate race for the 4-year term for Ponape. Because, as you know, if you go to that if you win that, then you'll be eligible to be president. So I was thinking, I said, maybe Willie is going to be the next president. But I kind of knew that the Tragis or the Chukis were waiting to take the position back. So how did, environmentalists like you jump into so high? You were even higher than the former President Panuelo, I mean, I was surprised,
Yeah, I was surprised also, but I spent a lot of time walking around in the villages and talking to people individually. And then I was very fortunate to have the youth really support me. And so we did well. We didn't win, but we did well. But yeah.
But was your work with your present work, did that contribute to your kind of public, approval or credentials?
I think so, because we support a lot of youth programs. We support, the Micronesia Conservation Trust. We offer internships, scholarships, fellowships to a number of young. And just want to say that yesterday we were very fortunate to be invited to Ngartmao by the governor there. They're doing with one Revis doing some work out there, and President NGIRMANG came out and talked to the young champions that we have here. So they were very happy to spend some time with him and his family last night.
Wow, that's good. I mean, he's still active. Apparently he's still young. He's like 66 or 65. So that's good. We're very happy to see him continue to remain active. But in terms, how is Senator Christian? He's an old man. He was senior in the Xavier High School, and I was freshman. I mean, the guy is old. He's a classmate of my brother. So, but I'm surprised he's still kicking.
He's a very strong man.
Yeah.
I think he's stronger than you and me. So.
Yeah. So you're going to take over his next election?
No.
Okay. Willie, we're coming to an end, and I'm, welcome you to Palau again, and then thank you for your kind of work. And I know it's environmental work. When we were involved in the 70s, we were a pariah. People think, these young people, Chief Idol Moses, Surang Whips was part of us, all the senior, and they said, we were young, So, but now it has it become mainstream.
Yes.
So keep it up, and thanks a lot for your time. And
Kailangan sulang.
Yeah, Kasanel sulang.
marang moula mayop au mil madangali armul belau isay yaul akmul mo